Morning, everyone. So I'm just kind of flowing in some thoughts this morning. I thought I'd record it, and whoever enjoys it, great. It's just a bit of pontification. So I want to talk about a few things this morning. First, I'll talk about this idea of becoming. Second, I want to talk about love knows no conditions. And then I want to talk about not fearing your circumstances or what's to come. They may tie in together. They may end up being kind of singular subjects. So you can play along if you like. So it's amazing when we get inspired to be, better and do better and learn and grow and all those cool things. I think also sometimes those things are done out of a sense of lack, of trying to get to sense of lack of approval, control, security. And so there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong. This is what leads us to an awakening eventually, right? We seek, and we seek through books and processes and becoming better, learning more, doing. All fine, right? I think if the primary motivator is to learn more about your beingness, that's really what produces results, right? I think that you are already perfect as body, mind, expressing itself as God, right? You are already whole and complete. And the release of resistance allows the free flow of what you already are, not just as spirit, but as body, mind, spirit, to flow. There's no becoming. Because a becoming implies a future. Becoming implies that it's not all now. Becoming implies that love has conditions. The free flow of love has conditions. That's what becoming implies, right? So flowing into the next topic here, love has no conditions. The release of resistance allows love to flow freely, and it doesn't require a process to get there. Now, there are certain things that we do that facilitate and kind of get our body mind out of the way effectively a little bit, quiet the mind, and allow the spirit to express itself and body mind to recognize that. And in that remembering is that mini awakening, right? In the remembering of who we are as beingness, love expresses itself. And then our body mind ascribes the moment of beingness to whatever we were doing at the time beingness expressed itself, love came through. When in fact beingness was just always there. It just happened that the body mind, remembered it was God having a human experience for a moment. And beingness shined through and remembered it was God having a human experience. Beingness remembered that, oh, here I am again. I never really forgot, but just kind of recognized again, like shift your focus, like, oh, yeah. And in that moment, we create beautiful moments with family and friends, and we exchange beautiful connections with people. We create traditions around these moments, which is really lovely, right? But the tradition doesn't generate the love. Love expresses, and we memorialize and create ceremony around the tradition, which is also beautiful. We create a ceremony around the remembering of the beingness that we felt at the time it shined through. So when Christ consciousness, the allegorical tale of Jesus being born, so it's just a metaphor, right? And that Christ consciousness coming into the world and being the saving of the human suffering, right? Meaning we are Christ consciousness. We are beingness, that savior of all of us, the remembering. And now we create Christmas around the remembering of that beingness, remembering itself and saying, wow, here I am having a human experience. And the body-mind embodying that beingness, recognizing itself as God. We create traditions. Love expresses. But the conditions are irrelevant. The outcome is irrelevant. The beingness just is. And without the flow of resistance, without the block of resistance, I should say, love flows without condition. So we can put the process to it, but that's just to facilitate the recognition of body-mind as God, right? Steps are really irrelevant. And if they help you, use the steps. If you're using the steps as a means of resistance and pushing, they probably won't help you. And you should just kind of relax back into beingness for a moment and ask beingness to show you and to reveal itself in the way that's uniquely beautiful for you. And this goes into the third topic. Our 3D environment is always serving us. Meaning it's always reflecting back to us, as we know, the state of our, how we sense the world, our beliefs, right? So if we sense any sort of separation, it's coming back to us. So when we fear and we worry, we don't really need to do that anymore. And let me highlight why and how. Let me put a process around it for you. Your 3D environment is always reflecting back to you ways in which you feel separated. And when you release the feeling of separation, just the feeling, you don't have to go into the subconscious and excavate. But if you're looking in your outer environment and seeing a seeming sense of lack, we're never in lack, but if your outer environment is reflecting back to you a seeming sense of lack, you're just believing a separation. And even by putting your attention on that belief, it weakens it. Because you're just seeing it as just a belief, right? You can simply switch it into a more positive belief. There's no negative and positive, a belief that serves you more in that moment. Again, your 3D is always serving you. In the way it's just showing you your true God nature. Your true God nature is so creative that if you sense separation, if you have a belief of separation, it will create that separation for you and reflect it back to you. It's always serving you. So if you're worried about something, you're worried about a sense of lack manifesting itself back to you in the seeming future. So let go of this sense of lack, this feeling of lack. And what comes back to you is wholeness. So when you let go of the sense of lack, you can let go of fear because there's no longer any reason for the 3D to reflect back to you that sense of lack, because it's now gone. So you can be free from the fear because you're like, oh, I let go of that lack, and it may reflect back to you for a moment, right? But you don't have to fear that because it's like, oh, there's no longer any reason for that. There's no longer any reason for the 3D to serve me that image because the lack behind the image has disappeared. So ponder that. Hope that's helpful. And drop me a comment. Sometimes I get a little philosophical. And it's kind of fun, right? So I thought I'd share that. Enjoy.